I love that Levon Aronian, living chess legend at the ripe old age of 43, is playing the Vienna game. We saw Daniel Dubov win an absolute classic, destructive masterpiece the other day. I'll link it at the end. Starting with this move, Levon follows suit here in round 4 of the Chess World Cup, business end of the tournament. His opponent is Radoslav Wojtaszek, very strong Polish GM, and after he plays knight f6, these are the main moves for white. You can bring the bishop out, the knight out, pawn g3, pawn f4, a kind of king's gambit thing. But Levon plays pawn to a3, saying, bro, you be white. You have a go with the initiative here. I'm good. I used to be the third strongest player in the world, or the second even. He's the third highest rated of all time. Now we see this pawn come to d5 here, and this is really the point. When you play in such a manner, black can equalize the game, but Levon's like, don't worry, I'm going to break more opening principles. Don't copy the super grandmothers. Very difficult to understand their moves. You hit a pawn here, it's defended, this knight is pinned, renewing the threat, so surely you play something like queen d6 and cover it. Upon knight e4, whoops, no worries, you moved queen to e6, different game. But cover the pawn, right? No. Bishop e7. Why on earth are you giving Levon the pawn? He gladly munches it up. He's now threatening to win your knight because it's attacked twice. So black's forced to take here. Queen recaptures. Sorry, not yet. Getting ahead of myself. We see the little swish and zug, in between move, intermezzo. Levon whispers it over the board to his opponent. The chess mafia love it. And now look at the pawn structure. So not only is black a pawn down, but you're left with a structure that only a mother could love. How on earth can this be any good? Well, the point is, after castles, you've got the legendary bishop bear. They're lasering across an open board. A half open file for a rook, an open file for a rook, king stuck in the center, both minor pieces at home. So white's got to be careful. We now see the knight developing here. You could go for an immediate bishop f6, then rook e8 check, but d4 comes just in time, bishop e3. So instead we c5, c5. Not so easy to say that. And it stops the pawn coming to d4, right? As well as preparing this one. So Levon now goes d3. He could have castled. This is a bit more ambitious, you might say. The bishop fianchettos, hits the knight over here. You don't usually want to give the bishops, but in some lines, okay, we're going to see bishop e3, double hits this one, and now Radoslav just goes wrong. That's the thing about such openings. Sure, you can equalize, but you have to remember the details. What should black do? Well, actually, this is the move. Yes, you give a pawn. This is the best way for white to play. You can't go queen b, whoops, I'm all over the place. You can't go queen b3 and stay with the pawn, or the rook comes. So this is the play. Then this one drops. Sorry, you give the bishop pair first to mangle the structure. Take this pawn, and it should be a roughly level position. You're still a pawn down here, but with the king with no good place to castle, some open lines, some initiative. Apparently black's okay. I mean, you still have to know what you're doing. Where's that bishop heading soon? Okay, not played. We saw rook e8. Given the question mark, so natural, but now castle's queenside. And here's the big problem. The king now covers b2. So when bishop comes, you take, and pawn's protected. Let's see the game. The Black Widow spider centralizes, covers that nasty doubled pawn. Now we see the second cannon enter the center of the board. Queen f5's played to put a ton of pressure on this knight. So Levon rotates. This pawn is taken. Looks absolutely suicidal to do so. Actually, it was the best move. You had to regain a little material. This is how things proceeded. Bishop f6 was necessary to not only hit the queen, but cover the checkmating square. You don't want your opponent to crash through to that G spot. So we see queen takes on c5. And now really, I think Radoslav should have been playing for this. Hit the queen. She goes somewhere, bishop d5. She goes somewhere. This is one sample line. And okay, at least you keep some pieces on the board, maybe some attacking ideas, get a bit weird. But in the game, he just takes the queens off the board. And he lands himself in an endgame where he's miserably worse. A pawn down, a weakened structure. I mean, the bishops are not enough to compensate for that. Levon challenges the open line. Pawn saved from the attack of the bishop. King d2. And this is the beautiful thing about the knight on c4, covers the b2 square. So the king can go walkies, no issue. King h7, pawn f4 is a great move. Now we see rook takes on e1, rook recaptures, a little bit of tickle. Levon has a giggle, gets him right in the jugular there. Great play by Radoslav. Rook into e5, also could have gone to e2, f1, you know, different ideas, and white doesn't have to rush it. The black weaknesses are perennial, long term, right? Not going anywhere. We see bishop e3, wonderful old man chess.
But he's 36. Like, there's going to be a time when he goes sitting in his pineapple shirt and he's not playing chess anymore, and he's just going to have to watch me win tournament after tournament. He's going to be too old to even compete. Like, my reign is going to last so long that he's going to be at the age of like just like he can't even walk anymore, and I'm still going to be winning.
Rook coming to c5, where you hit bishop and pawn, and once the rook vacates, the knight can jump. All that good stuff. So that's why we see takes. Of course you go knight takes. It's just the move. You keep this one clamped. You hit a bishop with tempo. You hit a pawn. Why not bishop d5? Well, you run into Prawnageddon. d4, and you're just getting squashed. It's really not fun. This one could come soon. There's always these different ways of targeting pawns. So in the game, we saw bishop e8, best way. Now the explosive c4, getting that 4-on-2 majority going that Levon's got over here. Radoslav gets to whisper, stack my bishop. Fair play to him, but Levon cracks on in the centre. The stinky f6 on the board does kick back this knight. Apparently pawn to c ships immediately is best. Understandable. Not played. The king activates. Worth 5 in an endgame apparently. So I heard Magnus say in a recent interview. Pawn d5 is played, and it's excellent chess. Because if the king now marches in, which we didn't see, we're in the back cave, well, the bishop can activate. Even at the cost of a pawn, right? Because takes here, takes here. You know, these are some of the themes. That's now 4-on-1. This is the thing. Yeah, 3-on-1 over here, but much slower, much further behind. So these are the kind of ideas. Instead, we saw pawn c6, bishop c5 anyway. Bishop d8 is the best defensive try, but Levon gets to create the passer. A delicious pawn that is. 2 squares away, the baby girl's in the delivery suite. King activating, of course, and now classy understanding of the position from Levon. Bishop a7. A little remaneuver. Now covering with the pawn. But hang on, where's this one going? Bit locked out the game, no? Head to b6, takes, pawn takes, lose the d-pawn. What's the plan? Well, first let's turn our attention over here, because f5 check is actually a threat. Say you do this, there's check. If takes, there's this. You're going to win a piece. So let's say takes. Wait, where are we? Here. And then you can't stop the pawn going through. Just can't bounce around in time. So these are some themes. So that's why f5. And now amazingly, there's only one winning idea in this position.
The only winning move.
It's the only move?
Because if you do some kind of waiting move, bang, look at the bar. Pretty much back to zeros. Black gets some counterplay going like this. Say you go knight b4 to try and win this pawn. We see this idea in the game. Well, now takes. And actually, the black pawns are running super fast. The bishops can even support them in many lines. So you really have to be careful. Levon finds the absolutely classy winning move. Bishop b6. And the point of this is that if takes, pawn takes, king takes, can you see how you stop the king getting over and push the pawn through? Knight c5. That is beautiful. If takes pawn b7, you can't stop in time, right? He's away. And if you don't take, if you try and wait, let's say bishop d7, pawn pushes, king in, now you take, and the king's got a problem. Can't stay with both things. If you don't put the bishop here, you do a different waiting move, you know, I don't know what, g5 or something, then knight takes on a6, now you've stopped the king coming in. So b7, b8 queen is inevitable, unstoppable. You really just can't get around in time. There's nothing. So back to the game here. Takes not played. We saw bishop f6, best move, but now knight b4, an available square because Levon didn't hastily push with b4 one move earlier when he played bishop b6. He hits this a pawn, and if you try and save it, you munch it like this. So we saw this pawn taken. Levon saves the a3 pawn and resigns in the game. Because if you try and go for the counterplay like this, well, white munches over here, but unlike the earlier lines, the king stands well to blockade these pawns. You're checking, you're munching a bishop, you know, it's too fast. The white pawns, the white counterplay. King distracted here, getting trousered, one of them runs through, that's the end of the game, of course. Really lovely win there by Levon Aronian, having the year of his life right now, well, in recent times anyway. Hope you enjoyed this one, and have a look at the video on screen for a stunner from Daniel Dubov. Very similar kind of Vienna game craziness. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon. Cheers.